welcome to my podcast. Today we'll be discussing agenda setting, more specifically focusing on whether professional athletes are portrayed in certain ways due to their skin colour and ethnic origins. This seems to be a continuous problem in sport, in particular football, which is considered a black dominant sport. But why is it the media are more critical towards black athletes than white athletes? Are they jealous perhaps that black athletes have more of a physical advantage? BT Sport was one of the media companies I gathered research on, as well as BBC Northern Ireland. However, BBC Northern Ireland did not post a single tweet about a black athlete, positive or negative, which made it hard for me to gather data on. However, BT Sport posted various tweets about black and white athletes, and this chart shows a numbering difference of tweets for black and white athletes. As you can clearly see, the significant amount of more stories about white athletes, and there was a total of 36 positive tweets out of 41, and 32 of those tweets were about white athletes. With this in mind, it's clear BT have an issue broadcasting stories about black athletes. So, agenda setting refers to the process through which media organisations prioritise and emphasise certain topics or issues, influencing the public's perception of what is important. Media organisations make choices about which stories to cover and which to omit. Being biased in story selection can affect how racial issues are portrayed. Racism dates back even to the 1800s, with it starting by stewards being harassed by black supporters, which is how racial chants started, as well as abuse. Obviously now it has declined drastically, and now even players are being abused on and off the pitch, with fans posting racial comments on social media, calling players out on their poor performances. The media have a massive part to play in this, not directly being racist, but by influencing consumers' perceptions on athletes by posting new articles suggesting what they've done is negative, knowing readers are going to agree with them and to express their thoughts to others. Raney and Jennings indicated crime among athletes in sport is limited to basketball and football, which not surprisingly are those sports dominated by black athletes. The media has persistently portrayed this image in the consumer's mind, suggesting black athletes are more violent than white athletes, and just people in society. In addition to this statement, an incident involving Raheem Sterling consuming laughing gas just days before a match when he was at Liverpool. This is obviously extremely antisocial behaviour and needed punishing, but Jack Grealish was at the same incident doing the same as Sterling, but never received as much criticism for this. Is this down to Grealish being white? Black athletes are generally associated with having strong physical abilities and power, whereas white athletes are perceived to have intelligent skills and lack physical abilities. In addition to this statement, an incident occurred regarding Barcelona star Ansu Fati, with a journalist appearing to compare him to a gazelle, as well as a black Montero, which is a group of African street vendors, often chased by police. By comparing Fati to these criminals, the journalist is suggesting all black people are criminals and was therefore punished and accused of racism. This example relates perfectly back to the theory about journalists suggesting black athletes are violent and categorises all black people to be virtually the same. Van Sterkenburg and Luque suggested comparing him to a gazelle was just as bad as a street vendor, indicating the similarities of blackness and animalistic features which went under the radar a little. The idea of framing comes into the story, as a journalist could have used another choice of words but purposely didn't, and encouraged consumers to have an opinion on the player, and black people in general, looking at the bigger picture. Framing comes from within the media, and people who make the decisions of the stories we're allowed to have opinions on. With this in mind, a lot of the media companies and channels is male dominated, with this graph showing the percentage of male to female journalist editors in the UK from 2016 to 2022. Most of the population is male in 2016, 18, 21 and 22, with 2020 having more female employees. This could suggest having males dominate what gets broadcasted to consumers is a problem, and they're the ones influencing these racial issues. An example of this was when an article broke out about Mario Balotelli appearing with his shirt off, and the headline being, "We made them black." This can be seen as dehumanising and labelling him as a black player, and not for being Italian. Peterson Wagner suggests women's sport is not broadcasted anywhere near as much as men's, and looking at this gender comparison in men's and women's sport, in France in 2012 and 2014. The majority of the population is male, and with this in mind, I believe increasing the coverage of women's sport and an increase in female employment within media companies, then the risk of racial issues will decrease, because racism in football occurs only at male football matches. Therefore, by reducing the number of male matches, would this lead to a decrease in racism across sport? I think BT have portrayed an image of themselves with the amount of black representation they have when covering matches, not to mention the lack of females in presenting matches, as well as within the media company. Do you agree? I hope you've enjoyed this podcast about the lack of black athletes in certain media broadcasters, and I hope it has increased your awareness about the subject. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe.